Welcome to another episode of That's Effin' Weird. Today, we have a really interesting secret to share with you guys, and Clark's going to head this one up. Right now, want everyone to know that Alex is fine. He's safe. He's not dead or anything. He's coming back. He will be sending in some reports.
Hey, just arrived at the airport. I'm just giving you guys a quick update as the audience members and part of the crew. I'm going to head to the jungle now, all right? I got to catch my flight. It's going to be awesome. But don't worry, I'm going to keep sending you guys updates. I see a plane in the air. That's cool. It's going to be me soon. But yeah, I'll keep you guys updated. Hope to hear from you guys soon.
We wish him well and hope that he is okay. And well, we'll get into that later. But
It sounds so ominous.
I know. It's a very interesting thing, and he just wants to send his love to the listeners. That's that. I'm just the relayer. We'll get into that later, but we'll check in with him in the next episode. But in the meantime, we have a really interesting secret treasure episode, and there's a lot of puzzle solving, and Clark's the expert on this, and he's just going to take it away. Oh wait, hold on. We have some other members here that need to introduce themselves, so go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ro and I'm back.
Nice.
And I'm Lily, and I'm very new.
And I'm Seth, and here's Clark.
What's up, guys? So today we're talking about a book called The Secret, and no, it's not The Secret, which was the religious
manifestation, man.
Is that what it is? I don't actually.
You just gotta believe.
This book was written in 1982, and it's called The Secret: A Treasure Hunt. And first off, the idea behind this book is what is brilliant about it. So in 1982, a man by the name of Byron Preiss came up with an idea to bury 12 treasures across North America and write a book about it. Now, the book itself is very strange. It's about mythical creatures all across America, and it's about immigration. Essentially, it's like it's kind of a metaphor for immigration for all the people of Europe coming over. Well, not even Europe, but Europe and Africa coming into America. And so there's like all these like mythical creatures, and there's actually an appendix in the book that say like where these creatures are from and where they reside and everything. So it's like almost like a alternate history, like fae world, where it's like full of fairies and goblins and trolls and things like that, and it's like it's all veiled for people who came from Europe into the New World, and that's kind of the basis of the book, and it's very strange. The book itself is odd, but the treasure hunt is what has endured, and people thought it was fake at first. Now, Byron Preiss Publishing is still around to this day, and they've done video games, TV shows, books. That's kind of their thing. It's a publishing company. He wasn't really a like prodigious author, but he had connections and he had ideas, and that was his big thing. So what he did was he actually traveled. He was big into travel, obviously, and he was big into history. So he went to 12 cities in North America that he thought were the biggest cities for immigration in American history, basically. And I say North American history because one of the cities is Canadian, or one of the rumored cities. We don't even know because the treasures have not all been found yet. But one of the treasures is presumed to be in a Canadian city. We'll get to the cities here in a while. It's a lot to unpack, but he was inspired by immigration to the New World, and therefore he chose 12 cities that he thought best represented these groups of people, and then he kind of wrote the novel. Or it's not even a novel. He wrote the book. It's almost like a catalog in the actual book of like fey creatures, of like, mythical creatures that would represent the people that came to America and everything like that. So when we get to
So,
the actual, go ahead, yeah.
sorry, I have a question. Just to make sure I understand, he described the immigrants as monsters of sorts?
No, not really. They're kind of he writes basically he calls the people that come from Europe as like the fair people, the
Mm-hmm.
Faire, so fair or fairy, however you want to say it,
Mm-hmm.
people. And he basically says that the like the people they're the originators that buried the treasure, and the people or the creatures they come across in the new world are described as like these like mythical creatures. So
Oh.
similar to like if real life Europeans, when they came over to America and saw a bear for the first time, they wouldn't know how to describe a bear
Mm-hmm.
because there was nothing European about a bear. They had nothing. There's nothing. There's no analog for that. Like, they had nothing to describe it as. So that's kind of how the story is written. It's meant to be from the perspective of like, once upon a time, a long time ago, these people came over and they left us this catalog of history of these like creatures and things like that, and they buried treasures for people to find later.
Interesting.
Now, what inspired each treasure in each city was the real life immigration of people uh,
Okay.
from like Europe and Africa. So um, that's where we get into it. Like the book is kind of twofold, and it's actually written that way. And I do want to hold up my copy of the book here for people to see. And my ring light is kind of in the way, but it is
Oh, okay.
actually it's actually written that way to where literally there are strange descriptions of like peoples and things like that. But
Oh.
there's an entire section that's just called The Treasure. And it's 12 paintings and 12 poems. And when you get to that section, it looks like this. There will be a painting and a poem.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Now, the paintings and poems are not linked up for you. You have to read them and find out which painting makes most sense to the poem. So that was people have been doing research on this since the 80s. So a lot of people have put in a lot of hard work, and I give them all the credit for this. But the artist's name, JJ Palancar, is the guy who did all the paintings for it, and he was given basically snapshots, pictures of certain areas of the city, and said, "Hey, use these elements in your painting." And there's supposed to be a guide to get you to the city, and then the poem, if you can match it to the painting, will literally step by step guide you to the treasure. So
Oh, okay.
this all sounds crazy. He did this in 1982. This was his vision. I don't really know why he needed the extra book, like why he wanted everything about the creatures and things like that, like because it's almost like a I mean, I don't know what you want to call it, like a catalog. It's not like a story. It's not compelling. But really, when you get to the treasure part, when it gets to the poems and the paintings, that's when it really gets down, to the matter here. So I have to describe the actual treasures themselves. He did so much thought into this. So he explicitly said that it would be in a place that you could dig, that it was not illegal to dig in. So it couldn't be in a cemetery, it couldn't be in a private residence, anything like that. It had to be in a public place where you could actually dig and find this treasure. Each treasure is a ceramic cask. So think of like an urn, ceramic with a key inside. Now the key is ceramic, and all of that was enclosed in a plexiglass box as to not damage it. So you cannot metal detect for these treasures. It's all ceramic. And he buried them 3 feet deep, exactly 3 feet deep in every place where he did it. And then, yeah, from there on, you have to match up the poem to the painting. And the painting will give you the city and give you some clues, and the poem will lead you step by step. If you can find the place or the public park wherever he planned it to be in from the painting, if you read the poem, apparently it should walk you step by step to exactly where the burial spot is. Now, he did this in 1982. The first treasure was found in Chicago in 1984. So that proved that it was real, that it's, not a gimmick. He actually did go out and bury all these. The second treasure was found in Cleveland in 2004.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it took a while. People forgot about it, didn't think it was, it hadn't even caught public imagination, really, honestly. If you think about it in the 80s, where would you have found this book? It wouldn't have had any internet clout or anything. So a group of 4 guys were super into it, and they found the first treasure in Chicago, and then it got reported in the local news, and then it got forgotten about. And some people that were super into the book found in Cleveland the one in 2004, and it kind of reignited all of the excitement for it. So everybody was like, okay, these treasures are really out there. And it became a big thing, and it got really hot again. And that's when I got interested into it, was in about 2016, 2017 is when I really got into it, because I found out that one of the treasures might possibly be in my hometown, Charleston, South Carolina. Well, in 2019, they found the one in Boston. So 3 of the treasures have been found now. So they are really out there. They're legitimately there. And people have kind of narrowed down all the cities they're in. Just nobody has found the other, was it 8 treasures?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we stand today.
Okay, so the first.
2019 is quite
Yeah?
recent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
I said 2019 is quite recent.
Yeah, very recent. Yeah, 2019. And anybody who's a fan of Expedition Unknown with Josh Gates, he actually has done several episodes on The Secret now because it became popular again. And he was there for the Boston unearthing. So he was not the one that found it, but I don't want to besmirch his name, but he was definitely there for when they unearthed it. So
A question that comes to mind is why? Just why? What was the purpose of writing the books, burying the treasures? To what purpose? Why?
So there is a monetary value to unearthing. The keys inside really are worthless. They're ceramic, but he actually had real gems that are in a bank security deposit box in New York, where Byron Preiss Publishing owns. And the gems are worth between $2,000 and $10,000, depending on which gem it is.
Wow.
Each one is like an aquamarine or a diamond or something like that of substantial like monetary value. So there actually is monetary value to finding them. It was his game. He's actually, if you read anything about Byron Preiss, he was a very jovial kind of guy. So this is also I should have brought this up. Byron Preiss died in a car wreck in 2006, and he's the
Oh
only person.
no.
He's the only person that knows where they're buried.
Oh
He,
no.
so now it's literally lost to time. Like you gotta find them, or because nobody knows. Even the artist JJ Palancar does not know.
Mm-hmm.
He's been very staunch that he does not know where they're buried. He goes, Byron never told me where they're buried. I just did the art based on the photographs he gave me. So
Right.
Is there any headroom on any? I feel like there's crews of guys on Reddit trying to find these.
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah.
There has to be a subreddit for that.
There's a lot. There's a lot, and all of the leads are super solid, but it's just painful to not only if it's in a place where you can like get a lot of like friendly leeway to dig in these places,
Hmm.
um, but the topography has changed. Um, you know, over time, it's been 40 years.
Right.
So like things have changed in Charleston, which is the one that I'm very invested in because that's like where I'm at basically. Um, it's very hard because we've had multiple hurricanes come in, especially in the place that I think it's buried at, and it has changed very much some of the landmarks that would have been there, and then also the historical landmarks that are in these parks have been moved. Some of the monuments have been moved. Um, the trees that he might have used as clues have been, like I said, blown away, hurricanes and stuff like that. Um, so it's like it's really painful. You're now kind of grasping in the dark for some of
Hmm.
these things. And then because of what I do now for my job, I know for a fact that they've come in and done a lot of construction on like these parks and stuff like this, like underground. They've dug up a lot. It's possible that the treasure's destroyed altogether because they've done reclamation projects for sewers and things like that to uh, basically post hurricane, you know, I guess
Right.
what you call restoration. So it's we don't know, uh, but what I can say is the cities that we firmly believe these treasures are in are still in, I guess. So Boston, Chicago, and Cleveland have been found. And by the way, the immigration uh, connection on those for Byron was, I believe it's Irish, Italian, and Greek.
Hmm.
Because it was actually the Chicago one was, I think, in the Greek park, um, and then you had Italian in Cleveland and Irish, I believe, in Boston. So like,
Interesting.
yep. And if you see the artwork, it really really reflects it too, which is amazing. Like it starts
I
like
was
ringing
to
bells.
ask you that.
You
How
look at
how
it and you're just like,
precise are the poems or the paintings?
that's like matching them up is so crazy because um because some people still don't even agree to this day that certain like for the Charleston one for me personally, um it's very obvious that it's Charleston, South Carolina in the painting.
Hmm.
But people don't even agree the poem matches up. Some people think it's poem number 5 and not poem number 6. Poem number 6 talks a lot about pirates and things like that, which is a very deep rooted thing in Charleston history. Um, poem 5 talks a lot about water and things like that, and I think that one's more attributed to Houston, um, which if you don't know, Houston, Galveston area is also a port city. Um, but the yeah, I don't even know how to like get into the description. If I could show you the painting here for the Charleston, you'll see that it actually has in it um its description, or I guess its immigration connection. Here's Charleston's is actually African, and you see the lion, you see the African mask,
Hmm.
and
Wow.
then in the
Oh.
actual, so in
Hmm.
the forehead of the mask, if you can't see, if you Google map Charleston, South Carolina, that is the Charleston Peninsula.
Oh.
So
Huh.
they did the detail enough to actually put it into the mask itself. So that's an African tribal mask, which is at Fort Moultrie in Charleston. And they did enough of the actual detail to put the peninsula into the mask.
It's
So
ridiculous.
And
Yeah.
that's the guy that is claiming he knows nothing about where it is. He's
Yeah.
the one that illustrated all that. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He won't say a word. Now, granted, he was probably, really good friends, obviously, with Byron Preiss, and he probably won't say anything. But yeah, I mean, the artwork is amazing. The one that was found is actually right on the same page. That's Chicago's right
Mhm.
next to it. So if you just want to see what some of these paintings look like.
Those are pretty badass.
So that's what you have to go on is I mean, that's actually the Cleveland one that was found. And where it was dug up was literally dug up in a park. It looks like it was dug up right in front of a monument that looks just like that. So that one was more on the nose.
So, would you say that you need to almost personally have a connection with those cities to recognize the landmarks?
Some of the people, well, the first four that did it in Chicago,
Mhm.
yes, absolutely, because they were, it was 2 years after the book came out. They were, it was just like a fun passion project for a couple of friends, and they did it, and they kind of knew where those places were. With
Mhm.
Cleveland, um, I've heard that those guys actually were from that area, but they were more remote when they like realized. They're like, oh yeah, we know that place. We know this place. Um, with some of the other cities, Boston, the guy who is largely attributed to be the guy that found Boston's was an
Mhm.
office worker that literally was like he just kind of was obsessed with it, and he kind of overlooked the place where it ended up being found. He goes, I know it's there. I know it's there.
Oh, okay.
And with a lot of the other people who are very close to finding ones, they are kind of remote, but they're from the area. So like St. Augustine. So I should mention the other cities
Mhm.
where we like believe they're at. So San Francisco, Montreal, that's the Canadian city. That's why I say North America, not just America. So Montreal, uh, San Francisco, New York, um, Charleston, St. Augustine. And St. Augustine's is really obvious when you look at it's actually one of those paintings. If I can find the St. Augustine painting, it is
Mhm.
hilarious to look at because you would look at it all day and it's negative space. You would look at it and think,
Huh.
I don't see anything here. And then when you see the negative space, you're like, that's the most obvious one of all of them. It's uh but yeah, here's okay. So this is St. Augustine's, and it's obviously a conquistador. So it's a conquistador on top of a rock.
Okay.
Look at the negative space. The negative space is the state of Florida.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Yeah, that's a little on the
Yeah.
nose. Yeah. Huh.
So things like that. And so they think that's at Ponce de Leon's uh, Fountain of Youth Park in St. Augustine. So things like that, like there's a lot of people who've done a lot of research to really narrow it down to where these treasures are, but you've got to do the poems to actually
Right.
walk yourself through the park. Once you find out where it is, you have to walk yourself through it, and that's where the big problem is. Because like even in my city, Charleston, people, I'm following like a group. We talk all the time, and people, and I don't like to like engage and be condescending on them, but like there's so much people just want to be like, oh, it's got to be here, it's got to be here, it's got to be, and I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
I just really don't think it's there. I think they're overthinking a lot of it, and
Why don't a lot of them just check? Like, because we're talking about 3 feet in a publicly available digging
you
area.
see a lot of prodding holes, honestly, when you go through these parks
Okay.
now, and it's kind of unfortunate, and it's they're really cracking down on it now, especially since Expedition Unknown has done TV shows on it. Um,
Mhm.
Now it's really hard to get permission to dig. Uh, you know, it's almost impossible to get permission to dig in some of these parks. But uh, some of these people go and they prod and they dig and it's just ruining it for everybody, kind of thing. So I don't think anyone has a real solid, I guess, solution at this point.
Hmm.
So, but with
Yeah,
other cities, like I said, it's been they've had better luck because they either don't have it narrowed down enough or they have better connections with the local park people. So
are these state or federal parks?
they're public, but you've got to remember in a lot of these cities, like especially Charleston, like the historical society um, has a lot of preservation laws on
Oh
what can
yeah.
and can't be done in these places. So yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's
So,
definitely a bit
Clark,
of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, Lee.
Oh, sorry. Um, there's definitely like I'm seeing a lot of obsession by people who are trying to solve those puzzles and riddles. How far has it gone? Has anyone been in trouble for just digging around and searching for it?
Yeah, they've gone to the point now where they do threaten legal action on people digging.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just go to these parks and start going to town digging. So, um, but that's really where it's gotten to this point. So it's kind of ruined the party for everyone because more people have found out about it and they are just kind of to their own whims, kind of
Mm-hmm.
digging. So you see a lot, like I said, you'll find prod points all the time now, which is you can see where people have actually stuck stakes in the ground and stuff to try to like see if they hit anything solid. And it's and it's really sad because these parks are beautiful. So
Right. That's actually a good point. You'd think with today's technology, we would have some sort of machine that could detect it, right? We don't
we
have
do
that,
have
like a sonar of sorts.
yeah, we have GPR, which is ground penetrating radar, but you have to be over the right spot. And like you
Oh,
got to
okay.
remember, you have to have narrowed it down. You have to have solved the riddle first.
Mm,
So you have to know where it's buried. And if you find that out, then GPR, I mean, it's off by inches. So it's actually pretty accurate. GPR,
right.
people will tell you that GPR is not definitive as far as how deep something is, but we're talking about inches. Like it can be off by 8 inches at most. Like it's not going to be so like egregious that it's just
Hmm.
can't find out where it is. It's just you got to solve the puzzle first is the biggest problem. And that's the thing is that everybody has a theory. So everybody thinks they know
Of
exactly where
course.
it is. And you can't and GPR is expensive. I mean, we're talking like a couple, couple $100 an hour basically for somebody to run over a certain amount of area and stuff like that. So um, who's gonna pay that? Like, oh, I think I know where this $10,000 diamond is. I'm gonna pay $257 an hour for 5 hours for them to comb my area. You're not getting a net
Uh,
gain at that point, really. I mean, unless you just want.
yeah, I'll just stick with the shovel. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if they don't
Yeah,
find it.
so Clark, I was actually trying to ask how famous is this book and the knowledge about the treasure? Because um, it's actually coming to my mind the moment you said that there was a lot of restoration going on and a lot of sewage, probably drainage pipes that were laying through. What if it was found by someone who's not very familiar with what the treasure is and they just took it home, one of the
It,
workers,
it's
and it's just lying around somewhere?
it's well, that's the thing is if they had crushed it or damaged it in any way and like just found the ceramic pieces, they probably would have thought it was just something buried in the ground. And if they
Wow.
had no knowledge of the book, they would have just been like, oh, because they're painted very elaborately. So like the casks they're ceramic, but they're painted in vibrant like pinks and greens and whatever colors for each city that he
Hmm.
chose. So you can actually look up the ones that were found, like the Boston and Chicago ones, and you can see what these casks actually looked like. Some of them are complete. Some of them have been slightly damaged because just from time and being underground. Um, and it's just amazing because yeah, it's very possible. The same way we dig up something we find interesting and say like, oh, this look at this interesting piece. I wonder what its history is. It could be trash or it could just be something we don't know the history behind it. It's very possible that they just plowed right through it, and maybe somebody saw a piece of it and thought that was cool. Look at this painted piece of rock. That's probably all they would have thought about it.
Yeah,
So
That's so sad.
I metal detect, and I am constantly finding pottery and plates and broken pieces,
Oh
and
no, Seth, what have you done now?
yep.
but like in places where stuff is, like you're getting a
Mhm.
bunch of hits on metal. There, well, at least where I am, and specifically the property, you'll find all kinds of ceramics and stuff. So I can see that.
Yeah, as far as I know, though, there's none in your area. So
No,
you're
no, no. I'm talking about like I can see
and
someone coming across it. That would be nuts.
yeah, oh,
Sorry,
absolutely.
I had to turn off my camera. My back is seizing up, so I'm laying on the ground. So I apologize.
Mhm.
That's fine. The cities, though, I needed to, I didn't go down through all the cities. So the ones that we think that there's actually still treasures in are San Francisco, New York, Charleston, St. Augustine, Houston, Montreal, and New Orleans, I believe.
There's a lot of places where storms could have wiped out.
Right?
I know, and that's the problem. Like I said, there's so much has changed, like landscape wise.
And do you think did in your opinion, did he bury it, or unless he said it, but way before the book? Did he like how long was the period between all of that and the release?
He started burying them in 1980, and the
Okay.
book was released in 1982.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was a very short period of time that he did all the
Yeah.
traveling.
Man, a car wreck.
I know. It's like one of those things that you're just, it's
Yeah.
like,
Like
man,
how old was he when that happened?
I believe in his 50s, maybe close to
That's
60.
pretty. Yeah,
I mean,
that's not that old.
he had been successful as a like he owned his own like Byron Preiss Publishing was his group. So
Yeah.
like, writing was his secondary thing. So I'll actually
But like in a way, the purpose of a treasure is to be found, right? So it's kind of sad to think that some of them are probably just destroyed or will never be found. It's so sad.
yeah, and it's also sad because he even said on record that he thought they would all be found really fast. He didn't think he
Huh.
made it that hard. Um,
Oh. So do you
so
think that we're looking too much into it?
yeah, definitely with the groups that I'm in, people are way overthinking
Hmm.
the poem. I think I know exactly where the one in Charleston is. I think it's destroyed. That's my personal belief. I think it's already destroyed.
So it because of excavation and work that they've done, or like all the landmarks have been wiped out, and it possibly is still 3 feet under.
Nope, the landmark that has been moved, I know where the landmark was moved, and that's fine. That doesn't really deter me from finding the location, because have been alive for when the old landmark was there and what the new landmark in its place is. But
Mm-hmm.
but I also have been alive to see them do very extensive, um,
Reconstruction?
yeah, reconstruction and digging in that area.
Yeah.
And I think that they just and like I said, this is the kind of stuff that's it's hurricane management sewage, big huge pipes that are being placed underground, and yeah, I think they just completely upended it. It's probably destroyed. It's probably just pieces under the ground, or pieces that were, if they were unearthed, they were just raked away. So
Well, okay, so of all of these locations, is there one in your mind that seems like it would be the next or the most plausible find of it surviving and people getting close to it.
I think St. Augustine is going to be the next one found.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yep,
Well,
absolutely.
you would think of the day of the internet, it would be faster. Like
Right?
both his prediction and then just all of a sudden Reddit exists. You'd think people would be on it.
Yeah, St. Augustine is my best guess. If Charleston is not destroyed, I would really like to try to get it GPR'd and try to find it. So the only problem with Charleston now is that because of the TV show Expedition Unknown, it's gotten so much attention that the local government is really cracked down on people.
So even if you got like a permit and went through like all the process, they
I
would
could
still
do it.
be kind of
Yeah, I could do it with my connections, but
ooh,
yeah, yeah, no,
that'd be cool.
I could do it with
Right?
I could do it with the people like with my connections, but at the same time, um, if I'm wrong, then I don't know where to go from there. So put it that way.
Yeah.
I have it narrowed down to a very, very small section. So
Hmm.
About the poems, how cryptic are they?
all right, so I'll read you the Charleston poem. Um,
Hmm.
so let me go through the paintings here, and I'll read you the one that I think is, well, most people think is um, the Charleston one. So all right, here we go. Of all the romance retold, men of tales and tunes, cruel and bold, seen here by eyes of old, stand and listen to the birds, hear the cool, clear song of water, hearken to the words, freedom at the birth of a century, or May 1913, Edwin and Edwina named after him, or on the 8th, a scene where law defended, between two arms extended, below the bar that binds, beside the long palm shadow, embedded in the sand, waits the fair remuneration. I can't even say that word. White House close at hand.
I can totally picture the statues that's referring to.
Yeah.
Like I
So
feel like it's referring to
it's very
like
much monuments. And
yeah.
so of all the romance retold, men of tales and tunes, cruel and bold, that's all about pirates. It's actually a nod to Treasure Island. It's almost very similar to the opening to Treasure Island.
Okay.
Wow.
So seen here by as of old, stand and listen to the birds. So there is it's actually a new um, bandstand. It says stand and listen to the birds. There's a new bandstand. There's a gazebo that's in the middle of White Point Gardens in Charleston, and it has birds carved into the entire top of it. So it's literally stand and listen to the birds. It's a bandstand. A lot of people do weddings there and things like that. They've demolished the old one and they've built a new one now. So that's one of the monuments that has been like smashed and a new one's put up.
Hmm.
But I've, like I said, lived there to see the old one. Um, hear the cool, clear song of water. There's a fountain. Literally, if you were on that bandstand, if you look to the left about 90 feet away from you, there is literally a bubbling fountain, and it's a monument to the men who died on the CSS Hunley. So, and it's a
Wow.
constant bubbling fountain.
Wow. It's just
Um,
all clicking together. It's crazy.
Hearken to
So
the words, freedom at the birth of a century, or May 1913. May 1913, there was the USS Maine capstan uh, is in the opposite direction. So if you look 90 degrees one way, you have the fountain. You look 90 degrees the other way, or May 1913. That's the USS Maine capstan that was actually sitting there, and it literally has on its like brass thing said basically placed here on May 1913. It literally says it. So that one's pretty obvious. Edwin and Edwina named after him. That's Edwin Harleston. He's actually Harleston Village is one of the sections of Uptown Charleston, named after him, and has named his kids obviously Edwin Jr. and Edwina, his daughter. Uh, and there's a monument to him. So, or on the 8th, the scene where law defended. That one's kind of debated because on the 8th, the scene where law defended, there is Samuel what's his name? Samuel. His last name's Sims. He's a lawyer, and he has a monument in that same park. But also there is the Pirates Monument to Stede Bonnet on the 8th of November, where they hanged all the pirates that were captured for
Yeah.
basically from the siege of Charleston, where Blackbeard besieged Charleston for however many, like a week.
Dude, didn't Blackbeard? I always pictured him as like an older dude, but didn't he die when he was like
Yeah,
in
he was
his late
young.
20s?
Yeah, he was like 28 when he died.
Oh
Damn.
wow.
Yeah.
And he amassed a fortune from what I understood and didn't know what to do with it all. That's why all the legends of all the buried stuff.
Not as much. Most of his he had a very short career, and he had he actually most of his wealth, quote unquote wealth, was actually from amassing like goods, like um he was more into getting medicines, um like cloth, things they could use. They didn't actually
Okay.
need gold and stuff like that. But
Ah,
the most successful pirate of all time is Bartholomew Roberts, who just outshines everybody by like leagues. Like it's stupid. Like Blackbeard took 18 ships, I think, in his entire career. Bartholomew Roberts took 400. Like it's not even a competition.
no, it's not. Well, I've never heard of him. I'm gonna look him up. I really like when I was a kid. I loved pirate stories and all of that.
Yeah, the Golden Age of piracy is absolutely amazing to me, and that's another reason
Okay.
growing up in Charleston and stuff is just great. But
Do you? I know that the metal detector. Okay, so the guys near the coast, especially down there closer to Florida, but when they come up, there's a few spots. There's always like they always find Spanish coins,
mhm.
um, because they were treading around down there. But I would love to find one of those. But another question is, knowing you, you probably already have. But are you marking? Are you like putting pins in Google Earth to mark where the previous structures used to lie? Or keeping
uh,
track of it somehow?
I haven't done like the Google Past, if that's what you're thinking of, like the Google History thing. Is that what you're
Well,
thinking?
there's that, but you could also like, okay, since you lived there, you know exactly where that old gazebo was or
Yeah.
where whatever statue. You could put pins, like drop a pin, like the function, and kind of recreate what it was and go off of that if you ever were to try to get a permit to, fish around.
Yeah. The big thing there is really the trees and stuff with the hurricanes
Oh,
have messed up.
okay.
Because one of the, like I said, one of the last things, was it in the Long Palm Shadow? Yeah, beside the Long Palm Shadow, like
Damn,
we'll
no
never
palm
really,
tree.
yeah, we'll never really know if that was actually a tree. He was, because he wasn't thinking it would take people that long to find. So
Yeah.
um, I don't know if that's a real tree he's talking about or if it's something like a metaphor for a palm. And that's where people start talking about because there's a lot of statues of people there that actually have their hands out and that says
Yeah.
between two arms
Oh.
extended. So like a palm, like if somebody's palm is
Oh, 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 oh.
so like literally before that we're between two arms extended, below the bar that binds, beside the long palm's shadow. So it could literally be. Now here's the thing: there's a lot of cannons. That's White Point
Oh,
Gardens in Charleston is also called the Battery, and the reason it's called the Battery is because there's a lot of Civil War cannons that are
yeah.
still there. So long arms, is it meant to be arms like armaments, cannons, or is it meant to be
Hmm.
Oh, yeah.
long arms because there's the Moultrie statue where the guy has his arms out like this, or there's the Confederate Defender statue where there's people literally going like we don't know. There's people that think that, like I said, there's so many opinions. Where is it cannon's arms, or is it literally a person's arms?
Yeah.
And is it a
Well,
palm, or is it palmettos? Because all the trees there are palmettos.
yeah.
Like they're palm trees, they're palmettos. So
Wow.
Yeah, that makes me okay. So I have a military cemetery really close to me, and all of the cannons for the memorial, they're like real but decommissioned. They're pointed straight up, so I can see that casting like a long shadow.
well,
Um,
these are all pointed out towards Fort Sumter, like they were
oh, okay.
during the bout. So they're like if you just Google street White Point
Hmm.
Gardens in Charleston, you'll see what these cannons look like. Yeah, and you can see the statues between them. So like I said, it's very confusing. Like, was he talking, you know,
Interesting.
literal arms or cannon arms? And then it
Well, if he
says
was trying
white,
to make it simple, I would go with the statue
Right?
arms first,
and then
and then move to the.
the very end, embedded in the sand, waits the fair remuneration. White House close at hand. There is a very, very obvious White House at 20 South Battery, right there next to White Point Gardens. It's a very big house. It's a bed and breakfast now. But there's also on the opposite side of the park is another White House. There's a hotel that is named after a
Oh.
president. So is it named after a president because White House is close at hand? So
Oh my
Yeah,
there's
I
God.
totally see what your point is. Like, there's no way I feel like he did do it kind of a little looser than
Mm-hmm.
the detectives online are thinking.
yeah,
Oh man, that's I wouldn't know where to pick. I mean, the only thing then the question is, okay, well, if these boxes they're small, are there paces to go off of? Because like you could be from 20 feet from one statue to the cannon or whatever. I mean, that's a lot of ground to cover
Mm-hmm.
digging wise.
yeah, that's the crazy part of it is this park is not big at all. Like you can walk every single square inch of it like in a couple hours. I mean, and I'm not saying like I'm talking like down back down back down, but like you can mow the lawn basically
Oh wow, yeah.
in a couple
Huh.
hours. It's not a huge park. It's not a huge like I encourage all of you to just Google Maps and look
I
at it
will.
from aerial. It's not a huge place, but it is for something that's 3 foot deep in a box that's I don't know 20 square cubic inches or whatever. Like it's 3 by 3 by 3 or whatever. It's not even that. It's bigger than that actually. It's like 9 by 9 by 9 basically. I just don't see how like it's still impossible. It's so small.
Yeah. The only other thing I can think of is, when metal detectors use, there's a map online where basically they're a conglomeration of aerial lidar scans, so you can see like density and you can see old paths. It's the same way they found stuff in like the Amazon jungle, but you can see stuff under all the vegetation, and so you'll see footpaths, you'll see where old buildings used to be because they're clearly square and the soil's denser. And so the only thing I'm thinking is like you could look at that, but and like try to date it as close to when well, as far back as the lidars go at least, and see if there's any depressions. The problem is the modern scans would just be all torn up because of all the tire treads and any construction they did. That would change everything. So that's kind of out. Uh, unless you found one little spot that was depressed in like the general dimensions of what he would have buried. That's the only thing I could think of. But they have a lot of those maps online.
Hmm.
I mean,
Interesting. So
check some of
I
those
have
out.
a question about the painting that's on the cover of the book. Is that
Mhm.
part of the treasure hunt or is it just an illustration?
It is. That is one of the paintings.
Oh, okay. Has this one been found out?
I believe that is Boston's, and I believe that has been found. If let me look through the one on the cover. I think
And
is
I just want to watch
Boston's.
National Treasure now.
Oh, it's just so much like that. Like it's real.
Just so
No, okay, that
fascinating.
is not Boston's. I apologize. That's not Boston's.
Hmm.
That is the one they think is in. Uh, think if I remember, that's the one. Oh, I don't remember now which city they think that is, but yeah, that's the actual painting.
Oh, okay.
So that's it without the stuff on the front.
And then the guy
So
that
what is that?
painted
A
this,
woman holding a box? Is that what it is?
Yeah, she's holding a box, and if you zoom in, it has a very like a minaret, like almost a Middle Eastern kind of
Mhm.
Okay.
landscape on it. Um, and there's like the fairy that's coming off of her left arm, and then there's like globes around her, and then there's a falcon, and there's
Mm-hmm.
bubbles. So yeah, there, like I
Oh.
said, there's actually there's a website you can go to that's 12treasures.com, where a lot of people have like compiled
Mm-hmm.
their information. It's like where people have submitted like a lot of the stuff and been like, hey, here's where we think these like treasures are, narrow it down from here, trying to get people to like get involved. So that's a
Right.
good place for people to start if they get interested in this, to go, and I mean it'll really like kind of get the creative juices flowing.
yeah, I'm definitely subbing to some of these Reddit. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure there's more than one.
So I guess from the treasures that have been found from those paintings, has there been some sort of cohesion, I guess, between the paintings, like maybe some symbols that are repeating or something like that?
So apparently Byron Preiss was a big fan of baseball, because baseball
Oh.
seems to be a common theme. Um, and I hate to say that because it wasn't part of the solves, but it is
Mm-hmm.
part of, like, they're always close to a park, and it might just be convenient that parks happen to have, in America they happen to have a baseball field near.
Right.
And he did it in public parks. So maybe it's just coincidence. But he also uses the diamond, like the five shape, um, kind of like diamond shape, uh, a lot in a lot
Mm-hmm.
of paintings also. So Austin was found. There's a diamond in that painting, and it was found on a baseball field. There's a diamond also in the Charleston uh, one, but it's in the shape of Fort Sumter, which is in the shape of a diamond. It's a fort. It just happens to
Yeah.
be shaped like that. So we can't necessarily describe it that way. But people have seen diamonds uh, in a lot of the paintings. Now the fairies are always in all the paintings, and there's different different I guess designs in their wings and things like that. So people tend to like cling to that as well as like clues. But
Uh-huh.
once again, I think a lot of people are reading a lot into them. I think the paintings are meant to be more general clues to get you to the city and get you to the area, and then
Right.
the the actual like verse is meant to get you to the treasure. Um, so that's just my own personal feelings. As I think a lot of people are overthinking it, but there is still so fascinating. You can really bend your mind in any direction. So
Yeah. Now, of the existing ones that have been found, are they mostly like private collections? I mean, I guess I don't know how that would fall, but no one's like donated it to a museum or anything like that.
no, absolutely not. You can these people will still like, they're just normal people, and they go around, and they'll go to conventions sometimes and get together, and they'll bring the cask, they'll bring their copy of the book. Um, and like everything. But so the treasure, like finding the cask is nothing. Once you find the cask and the key, you have to actually call Byron Price Publishing and tell them you
Oh,
found it. Here's the solve, and they take you to the bank's security
Yeah.
deposit and give you the treasure.
this
So
is so official.
yeah, so the treasure is not like, the treasure is cool. I mean, it's monetary
Mm-hmm.
value, but really, if you can have the cask and like your copy of the book and stuff like that, that's like that's the cool part to me. Like,
Yeah. Well,
I
all
don't know.
right. Wait, so with the key, did you say the key was porcelain or?
Yep. The
for
key is
ceramic. So
ceramic.
wait, that key unlocks a safety deposit, or are you
Y-
just exchanging the key to the
You're exchanging the
publishing
key.
company?
It's just
Okay.
Oh, I gotcha.
ceremonial. It's ceremonial.
Gotcha. That makes way more sense. Okay, I was lost on that. Yeah. Well, I mean, he at least he thought about metal detectors because that would have really sped it
Oh
up.
yeah, it have ruined it completely.
Yeah.
I have a
I
picture.
like it. He has respect for the hunt. It's so old school.
Mhm.
I have a picture of the 3. Here we go, right here. All right, hold on the 12 Treasures website. Let me go back to you guys so I can. All right, here we go. Here's the 3 existing ones and what's left of the casks. So you'll see that one is very complete, one is only a lid, and one is pretty much in pieces and in a shadow, like a shadow box.
Oh.
Oh,
Huh.
Wait,
Interesting.
where did you put them?
So that's at a convention where the three people came together
Uh-huh.
and met, and they had their copies of the books and what was left of the ceramic casks. So
Oh.
yeah, I'll show it one more time.
Oh,
Very interesting. There's so little of it left.
Well, you see the one
yeah.
on the I guess on my left, I guess on the left
Mhm.
there. That one's almost completely intact.
Yeah.
The one on
Yeah.
the far right's just the lid, and the one in the middle is the pieces that they found. So it was broken, it was shattered.
Mhm.
by them or just construction?
Yeah, just being buried underground.
Yeah. I'm
So what's your favorite painting? I guess favorite as in like which one do you think looks the best?
Well, obviously, I've spent the most time looking at the Charleston one,
Right.
so I have an affinity for that one. But if
Mhm.
I were to actually look at them, I don't, you know what? The St. Augustine one is really cool to me.
Mhm.
The conquistador on top of the rock with the negative space being
It looks
Florida.
really cool.
That's really cool. The Houston one is interesting to me. It's very. So this is the one that most people think is Houston. It's very like kind of Arabic, like it's almost like a djinn.
Oh, okay. Are those pillars
Yeah,
in like some sort of desert
and they have animal like
landscape here?
yeah, and then you have like it's almost a rhino head, and then like a camel on one,
Hmm.
and then a just the ball like um and I don't know what the
Interesting.
symbolism is on those, but they think that one's Houston. I haven't done a lot of research into Houston.
Is
Um,
that like a tree on top at the very top of the picture?
yes, there is a
Like
tree
with
overhanging.
leaves? Okay.
Yep, there's a tree
Huh.
overhanging, and then there's a star that's really bright, like above
Mhm.
um, the closest one in, I guess, from the perspective. Yeah, that one's cool. There's honestly like some of the coolest ones. St. Augustine one and the Charleston one, by some of my favorites, honestly. Um, this is the one they believe is New York. It's very strange. It's like almost steampunk, kind of a clockwork.
Oh.
mhm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
Huh, that's a strange looking fella.
yeah. So
I'm literally putting this making this order on Amazon
you're
I
for
was
getting
gonna
this book.
say, I want the book now.
Yeah.
and see and I don't look at this one as much anymore. This one's really cool to me. I don't look at it as
Yeah.
much because it's solved, but this is the Chicago one. Um, it's it's like a armor suit of armor.
Oh, okay.
It's like
That reminds me of Dali's
Huh.
Crucifixion in Space.
yeah, because he's like he's
Interesting.
sprawled, but it's like it's a suit of armor that's sprawled out.
Yeah. This
So,
guy's a really good painter.
Yeah,
right?
his son is also a really good painter. So his son is Kit Palencar, if you're interested. So they tried to do a tribute to this book and do a 13th treasure. And this is just fans of the book.
Yeah.
And it kind of fell through because of like, modern internet people being like kind of shitty.
Ah,
Of course.
And I
they were just trying to have fun.
Yeah.
but they
I'm one of them. I understand.
yeah, but they got Kit Palencar, JJ Palencar's son, to do the painting for that one, and you would be blown away because he's able to replicate his dad's artwork so closely, but he has his own style also. So he's actually very interesting to look at. So definitely, and JJ Palencar is still alive, so he's not
Yeah.
like it's not like a memoriam thing. But him and his son are both really talented artists, and yeah, I would love to have one of their originals like just hanging in my house.
Oh man, that would be so cool.
Yeah, I would love to
Yeah,
have the
I don't think.
Charleston original. Oh, I would. That'd be the
Yeah,
dream.
I don't think I have any original paintings outside of a few like crazy people from flea markets that I thought were really cool. But I wish I had like you know what I wish I had. I wish what I want. I want to beat Beksinski so bad. The Japanese ruined it. All their investment money in the 80s.
But yeah, that's basically that's the secret, and that's been my obsession for a few years now. So
That's
That's a
really cool.
good obsession. Man, I'm still like looking through this sample book that I've already gotten, but uh they have like some of the images on here and they're just wild. But
the photography in it too. That's the other thing about the book is like it's not just. It is a weird amalgamation. If you are interested in literature, poetry, art, and photography,
yeah.
it is a mind fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is enjoyable. Oh man. Yeah, well, yeah, that was a awesome synopsis. Like you've described it a little bit to me in the past, but the level of detail from this episode, I didn't realize kind of the scope. Like I understood that he had this thing, this basically scavenger hunt that he set up, but it's almost become more of a lore now. Like so
Mm-hmm.
much time has passed, the
Yeah.
questions, like the fact that there's so little information. He's gone, and now you've got like all this changing landscape. It's really going down in the lore category now.
Yeah, it's what really like hurts me the worst is the fact that he died and we just
Yeah.
don't know. Like it's up to us to find it.
Did he
Yeah.
have any kids?
I don't know actually. He does have a wife that survives him. I think he actually has a daughter. I believe they had a daughter. Yeah.
Hmm.
And
We need
It
to
would be
question the
interesting to see
wife.
like interviews.
she also said has gone on record saying she doesn't know. Like
Oh, come on.
he
I'm not
if
even
any,
telling my wife.
I think if anybody knew Palancar would know, and he's gone on numerous times saying he has no clue.
Yeah.
He did the art based on what Byron told him to do. So
Likely story.
yeah, I know. Some of it's so detailed, you
Mm-hmm.
got to question. But I mean, I guess he couldn't fly with him everywhere he went. So
Right?
Yeah.
That's
Man, that was
incredible.
good. And do anybody else have anything to add to that? I'm kind of just right now I'm perplexed by this I'm reading through this Amazon thing. But I'm going to my problem with all of this is
Mm-hmm.
that I'm I would like be the guy with like a shovel at night.
yeah.
Uh that's my problem. If I get like too into this kind of thing, I just will go do it.
Well, luckily I have shady people that'll do that for me.
It's true. Oh man, that's good.
No, I've been thinking during this episode that you know how they've organized, I think it was like in the early 2000s, maybe in the 90s, um treasure hunts like that, but it would be a lot more dangerous and it would be like over the course of, a month or whatever. Um have you heard of that guy that died in a mine, I think it was, in the desert? Now, where in the desert, I don't know, but he fell into a mine because he didn't um solve the puzzle right, and he fell to his death.
Oh
So that's
no.
why I ask you if anyone got in trouble or got hurt, because yeah, stuff like that could go wrong, I guess.
And nobody's got hurt.
Hmm.
I don't think anybody's gotten like in serious trouble, but they definitely are cracking down on some of these parks and stuff. Like I only know, like I said,
Hmm.
for personal experience in the Charleston. I know you can't really mess around there. I mean, you can do it late at night, but that's increasingly dangerous now.
Right.
But yeah, I think the one you're talking about was Forrest Finn's treasure.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
that was one where that was explicitly said that you have to be physically fit if you
Exactly. Yep.
want to go after this. Like you can't just be an armchair, kind of treasure hunter and go out and go find this. And that's what Forrest Finn always wanted that. And his most recent treasure was found. So,
Oh.
mhm.
Um, it's almost like pre-internet ARGs.
Mm-hmm.
The only ones I remember like growing up were Trent Reznor putting all the USBs like in the stadiums, like underneath the toilets, to like he was like doing all these weird ARGs for I think it was the Slip album. I always find that stuff fun.
I've had a weird period of my life where I was really, really into ARGs. I even helped write one. It, it,
Oh,
it didn't take off, don't worry. But
they're so fun though.
yeah, I remember spending so much time with what was it, Cicada 3301 or something like that.
3301. I
And
don't
it
know.
was
I
just
don't know if
fun
that's like the
following,
weirdest.
along.
I don't know if that's if it's done an episode on that yet or
We
not.
Ooh,
should.
And, we can do one, and I have a guest that can come on, and
Oh, dude.
absolutely.
he's the guy who's probably gotten the deepest in it. So, well, not the deepest like in that, but anyone here I know. So
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, was he contacted by some government
Some
agencies?
cryptographic.
he
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's what he does for a living. So
Hmm.
he does.
Wait. Like
Interesting.
he's a wait, what does he do for a living? Sorry.
I don't really want to say it on Craig.
Oh, I got you. I thought you said it, and I was like, maybe I
Gotcha.
misheard him.
He does stuff for the government though. He
Oh, I got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's IT.
That would be
IT
yeah.
for the
You should
government
talk
is
to
on
him.
it.
That would be so much
Mhm.
fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot. Obviously, from my past, a lot of the guys I know are military and
Yeah.
like, yeah. So yeah, but
Who's
he's.
the survivalist one that you're like he doesn't age?
Oh yeah, he can come on
We
too.
should do that. That would be fun.
He can come on whenever you want. I can talk about him all you want. He don't care.
Oh, I would love to talk to him.
But as far as conspiracies and especially Cicada 3301,
Mhm.
yeah, I got a buddy that can come on and he can tell you all
I
about
look
that.
forward to it.
He's done
That would be dope.
a lot of stuff, IT, government. He has a lot of like I said, he's got stuff he can't talk about because it's like nuclear
Okay.
things like that.
Mhm.
But that's what
Yeah.
he does
Spicy.
is yeah, deep internet research and hacking.
Well, if
And
he comes on, just tell him if I ask some inappropriate question, just be like, can't talk about that.
he'll yeah,
I'm
he's
not at
really
liberty to
good.
talk about that.
Yeah.
He will answer exactly what you think anyone would answer like that. He'll be like he'll do the best circumventing answer you'll ever hear. Like
Nice.
he's real smart, but that's what he does is like he's the guy that does like he can hack into your computer to find if you're a missing person and stuff like that. And he's
Wow.
If I'm a missing person, like if
yeah. Oh yeah, like
what does that mean? Like if someone wanted to disappear.
yeah, if you disappeared and someone reported you as a missing person, he would go to your computer and he would break into it and find out. He'd be like, "Yeah, he's here." And the cops would show up.
Wow.
The cops would show up and
Huh.
find you at the motel in Arizona, wherever you were at. Like, he's that guy.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
can he has like all the FBI credentials and he has all like all that stuff. So
Just don't open my file called files and stuff. Don't open that one.
yeah, and then the survivalist guy, you'll just have a blast with him because
Oh man.
he's hilariously insane.
I do have a survivalist question. I was shopping for those military grade gas masks, and I came across a local place next to a base near me, and they are selling I think the military. I don't think they're they have like supposedly a shelf life. Um, they're there and you can buy them. I don't know if I would trust my life with them. Like the other companies I've looked at have like all kinds of verification. What would you do in my situation? Like save the money and just buy a ton of those kind of military like expired things, or just go with the legit stuff?
Yeah, seals and filters. That's all you got to worry about.
What do you
Just
mean? Like,
think about the same thing on like your car, like on your window
you
ceiling.
mean the face sealing?
Yeah, as long as the seals are moist and not like dry rotted. As long as the seals are
Oh,
good.
well, I think that I should have clarified the cans. Like you can get the
Yeah.
masks too, but they sell the cans that you attach.
Filters. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a foolproof way of checking those. I could ask.
Yeah.
I could ask my guy.
I feel like I'm sure it's more complicated than just carbon in there. But it's hard it's like those armor plates that they're like, oh, these have a shelf life. It's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
I think, steel alloy does not really, unless you put it in your pond. So, but anyway, every episode I'm talking about this stuff, and Alex has got to get that prepper lady on so I can get it out of my system. But we'll get there. We'll get there. If you're listening, prepper lady, we'll get to you.
Prepper lady.
I don't know her
That
name.
sounded threatening.
Right? It
We'll
does.
get to you. She's probably not too worried. She's probably prepped for that scenario too.
Oh.
So,
Oh.
That's convenient.
well, this has been an awesome episode. Clark, thanks for like spelling all that out.
Thank
It's
you.
been pretty good.
That's pretty awesome.
Told you it'd be interesting.
Well, you got me to buy the book on Amazon while you were talking,
Right?
so it was very convincing. I just didn't know the scope of it until like this one. So it's good. It's gonna be good. It'll be a good read.
I think this was was this like the first thing I proposed after I did the Branch
Pretty much.
Davidians?
I think so. I remember you holding up the book, but at that point I hadn't seen anything inside.
Yeah.
But all right, well, I guess we'll close out this episode. Thanks for everyone for being here, and to the listeners. We don't want stuff that's normal. We want stuff that's effing weird.